Well, I don't want to spend more than a few minutes on this. It's more of a feasibility or reminding myself what is involved, goes on here kind of thing. Because I jumped through all the hoops here before to put a 5-lug Toyota hub on a Datsun Kingpin spindle. I found the picture, stuff like that. I didn't have time to look at the video. Did this for Dave at Fudofab. And if you need Datsun parts, they've got 510, like brand new panels, stuff like that. He's having panels made, that kind of thing. Anyway, he bought Oil Drop from Scott Fisher. Amazing artist, look him up. He wanted 5 lugs on it because of the rims he sells and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. It just wasn't feasible to have 6-lug rims made, so anyway, blah, blah, blah. The stock spacer has been taken off the back here. It's close to 1/2 inch, whatever, you know, it's common. That has to come off to put on any of the other bearing adapters, you know, that you're probably used to seeing from me, that allow hard body hubs to be put on here. So the Toyota hub and the hard body hub use the same bearings. There is a difference in spacing between the bearings. The Toyotas are spaced a little bit further apart. So just as a boring fact for the day here, on a hard body spindle, this is technically a 720, but I'm only concerned with brake plate forward, dust shield forward toward me. The spindles are exactly the same length between the two of these. Okay, the diameters are a little different. This one's a little thicker. That's why my bearing adapter goes on here to step it out to a bigger diameter for the hard body bearings. Okay, now the hubs, the Toyota hubs, when you do a 5-lug mod on a hard body, the hubs have to have the shelves machined in a little bit to narrow that gap between the bearings. Okay, you could go in and machine an 1/8 inch off the shelf on the spindle, but that means you got to take the spindle off the truck, you got to send it in, you got to find somebody with a lathe big enough to swing it to turn that, blah blah blah. It was just easier to machine the hubs. The difference being here is these are exactly the same length with that spacer on. Okay, so when you take that spacer off, it gives you some room to play. So now this is a adapter. Looks just like the other ones basically, except this diameter for the seal is smaller so that it fits the seal, the stock 85 Toyota seal that goes with that hub. And I've shortened up the length because if you put it on with the stock spacer, it's too far out here, you can't get the castle nut on. I tend to use a slightly shorter castle nut. This is a Dorman part for a Chevy, and it's almost 1/8 of an inch thinner. Okay, so with this special one on here, there's just enough room on there for the seal. Okay, the seal will fit on, it will kind of butt up against there, and it'll just barely, you know, work on this end. So it may not be 100%, but I'm going to call it like 95. And there's got to be compromises a lot of times when you're doing this kind of thing. I could machine the hubs. That would be that would make it to where I could put more meat on here and do that. They're Datsuns, and a lot of times I try to work it out to keep it on the cheap side. So instead of having to spend an extra 85 bucks or so or whatever, I'm going to charge at the time to machine the shelves on these. To do that, if I can just make the spacer a little bit shorter and it still works, that sounds like the better way to go to me. Okay, so then when the hub goes on here, you know, there's actually some room there. The hub could go back further. I just can't take any more length off that bearing adapter because I need some surface area for that seal to ride. With the shorter castle nut, it fits down perfect. It might even fit a stock nut. I'm not going to worry about it. You know, it fits with this. That's my goal. I'm not going to try to tweak it anymore. I can't go in anymore unless, like I said, I cut the shelves on the bearing, on the hub rather. All right, I think you can see that as long as the seal is fully seated, and it should seat just a hair below the end of the hub there, I think we're golden. as far as that goes. So then the question becomes spacing. Toyota hub, or rotor. I need to put the Toyota rotor on the back side of this hub and see where it sits. Now the other set I did not use the stock Toyota rotor. There was a custom made rotor hat, and then pulled it away a little bit further. Oh, see, it's just under 3/8 of an inch. I don't necessarily want to go 1/4 inch with the aluminum. I could go 300 thousandths. Now here is a modifier. It would be better for me to machine the shelves on the hubs. Pull this out a little bit more. And this is why I talk about reminding myself. This is a set. I've got several of these in a baggie. These are ones I made for Toyota Mod for doing this. But they're taller than the other. And it could very well be that when I did all this the first time, you know, that difference right there, yeah, that's roughly 1/8 of an inch. That difference there is enough to pull it out so I could get 3/8 back there. So there's a good chance I've figured that out and decided that that's what had to be done. Now granted, for purposes of mock-up here, I'm not going to be able to put this on far enough to do the thing. And that also means that I will need to machine the shelves down. The problem is that when I machine the back shelf, that is counterproductive. It pushes all of this back in. This is 3/4 or 3/8. That's nice. So it takes it to 465. Good 90 thou spacing there. I don't know that I can take enough off this front shelf here. And I hate to have to machine just one shelf on the hub. I'll basically taking off the thickness of this washer would be perfect. And it's 110 thousandths. I've been saying 1/8 of an inch, close enough. And you don't want to not put the washer in. That's not a good idea whatsoever. Possible option of finding a rotor with a shorter top hat. The way these hubs are, I would not recommend machining anything off the backside to step it out, just like I wouldn't want to machine the rotor either. I could get away with taking off that just off the outside there. Probably have to make those bearing adapters a little bit longer. Now once that goes in 1/8 of an inch, that ought to be close enough. And the sad part is I hate watching my own videos back, and most of this is just rambling for my notes. It would be much nicer to have a bracket that would go to the backside like a Wilwood would. I have a Wilwood caliper, I just don't have a rotor. Okay, the caliper goes on pretty nice. Let's see how it's hitting right here at the hub. And it's not, oh, it's pretty damn close. I guess if it were on square, there'd be 1/8 of an inch there. Okay. So there's plenty of meat here. So as long as I have to chuck it up to machine that shelf in 1/8 of an inch so the nut will fit on correctly, I can easily take off a 1/4 inch off the outside here. I would test that out and that kind of stuff and figure it out a little bit closer. I've got 2 of these hubs, so I will probably modify one and keep the other so I can have a stock reference. But it looks like there's plenty of room on the backside here, even if it's rotated up quite a bit. I think we're good to go as far as that goes. Now this is on this. This is on this rotor. This is basically one of the new ones. Yeah, but it's got a really sharp, which I should take off before I slice myself. Alright, much better. I do not think that is going to go on there. The top hat's too tall. Oh my! Holy hell! I should just freaking grind that nub out of there. Where the hell is it hitting? Oh. Okay. Yeah, it's hitting here, so that lip in there needs to get taken down more. I could grind it off the back of the hub. Man, it's close. Oh yeah, it's barely needs a 1/16 of an inch. Cool, and the bracket goes the correct way. That shelf can get cut down a little bit more. This will sit in a little bit more, but we've got plenty of room there. Now this is going to be good for the guys who want to run small 5-lug rims. These are like 10.5 or 10-inch rotors. So I'm not sure there's too many people who are going to want to run. Yeah, it seems like they might rub in there just a little bit. I might have to change some of the clearancing there slightly, but not a major overhaul kind of thing. I have no idea if there's enough demand. And for that matter, these could get just ground down here a little bit to clear that better. I don't know if there's going to be enough of a market for 5-lug conversion. Yes, but with this brake and everything, I don't know. You know, it would be easier to make this work because I can put the bracket on from the inside and have a flat plate. Buttload cheaper, quicker, easier. I got to machine the hub anyway. That's going to give 4 pistons on the smaller rotor, which will help. Decisions. Hate making decisions. I measured from the bearing to the top of the nut. Duh. That's not going to change. What will change is to the top of the spindle. Alright. This will get it within a few thou. God, yeah, that's like a few thou. It's just barely rubbing. Yeah. A couple of thou. 1.3 thou. 0.150. That would only leave 25 thou if I were to push that in 1/8 of an inch. The washer's 110, so I could push it in 110. That would leave 35, 40 thou. I'm going to do a quick look here now with the 620 spindle. Okay, and I've shown this plenty of times before, but you know, a lot of new people, that stuff. The boss here, this is a 521, so this is 320 through 521. Okay, this is 620. Now there's a couple ways to readily recognize. If you can't see this boss here, see this boss is taller, that makes it a 620. Okay, this is a pass-through hole, this is threaded. See the bump right here? It's a much bigger bearing. See the dust cap, how it goes up and the grease fittings on the top? On these, the grease fittings on the side, and the cup isn't near as pronounced. Okay, the bottom still has the grease fitting on the side there, but the top has got a much bigger bushing in it, and it needed it. These wore out quite a bit. So if you're a Datsun guy and you absolutely want to stick with drums on your older 521s and this stuff, find a set of 620 Kingpins and swap them out. The Kingpins will last way, way longer. And the bearing is readily available. Alright, and I'm not quite sure why I'm showing this either, but this is the 620 bearing. The 521 has this spacer at the bottom, and it goes with its bearing. And you'll notice its bearing has a fairly hard shoulder here, okay? 32K BO2. This is a 32K BO2/11B. All the dimensions are the same except for this spacer is built onto the back here. Now the two combined when you look, it's kind of hard to tell here, but there's about a 80 thou difference. Okay, so this bearing on the taller boss of the 620 is exactly the same distance as the 521 on the shorter boss. Okay, so I make a spacer that can go on here on the 521, and it pushes this bearing out to the correct. I don't know why I'm going through any of this. I already have web pages and videos up explaining all this. Okay, so that's a couple of the big differences with the 620. The couple of them you can see readily when you're looking at them. The others you have to have the drum, the backing plate off, stuff like that. You can look on the backside here and see that there's no nut on all the older ones. Since it's a pass-through bolt, it will have a nut on the backside. 620 will not. On my 521 spindle, I have a outer bearing adapter stuck on there. Heated it up for test fitting, pushed it on there, and could never get it back off. So what I wanted to check here was the Toyota 5-lug hub. What are the possibilities of it going on here? So the 521 bearing adapter is too tall, and for my brake kits and that stuff, I shave 80 thousandths off the backside to keep everything at the same distance from the spindle face here. So this should be one for a 620. I have the diameter of this adapter for both the 620 and the 521 set for a 79 620 wheel seal. Okay, it's a 54 millimeter inside diameter. Outside is 65 according to this, and it's 13 millimeters wide. That's what the numbers on here tell me. Okay, so this seal does not fit the Toyota hub, okay, because there's a step in here. Oh crap. NIS 720 found the seal, the Napa numbers that are listed on infamous Nissans on the 5-lug swap take 2. The seal is available that fits the Toyota and fits the hard body. I hadn't really planned on getting into it quite this much, but I can't slip that over to do a direct test, so let's just measure it here. This is 2.125, 2.124. This is 2.125. Okay, so I have these cut. These are machined to fit that 620 seal. And the ID of this 620 seal is exactly the same as the hard body. But with the hard body, if you've ever seen one, the seal is a big convoluted thing that goes around, it goes inside and around the back of the hub. So it sticks out too far for what I need. This, on the hard body hub, this fits down inside nicely. But since I'm trying to get it to fit the Kingpin spindle, you know, the thought is that I can go with what fits, with a smaller diameter that fits the stock Toyota seal. So this is the stock one that fits, and that's what I have it set to. The challenge is how far I can get the hub on, because the seal can only go in so far. Then once I try to push this on, I can only put the seal up to the back of the adapter. Okay, I can't get it like all the way up there because it'll try to run on this and it's not big enough. Let's try it here. This is the one that's made for the 620. That's a hard body Toyota bearing. They're both the same. This is outer bearing with the adapter. Okay. Okay, it takes the metric nut. Oh yeah, that's not even, probably not if you're on a phone or anything, but there's the hole right there. There's no way. Oh man, I almost caught it on the bounce. Okay. Yeah, so that'll just go through. So if I can get this to work without, there's no real point. It would have been nice to use the 620, okay, adapter here because that means I wouldn't have to use another one. Okay, wouldn't have to make a different one. It looks like this can be cut down even a bit more, and this still fit. Oh yeah, you know, it actually could. It could get cut down. It could get cut down enough to do that. Here's, yeah, toy hub, no mod. Okay, so it looks like if I use this, if I use that, oh, it's still just a hair tight. I could push it back just a hair more. See, and if I'm going to do that, I need to find that other seal. I don't know how thick that other seal is. Okay, I'll have to look that up. What I'm thinking is that it would be to my advantage if I could use the same adapter that I use for the 521s and the 620s and just shorten them up rather than make a completely different one. Because what I do with the 621s right now is I will make a few at the time I'm making them, make a few 620s, but I primarily make 521s because I can always throw these into the manual lathe and take 80 thousandths off. They end up with a chamfer instead of a fillet, but they still work exactly the same. So if I can just take a little bit more off and make it work on the Toyota, make it work with the Toyota hub on Kingpins, with that seal that is used for the hard bodies. Because like I mentioned, this diameter, big diameter here, large OD is 4, is the same as the hard body seal. That would work out nicely. What I would like to try to avoid is having to have the hubs sent to me to have them machined like I do for the hard bodies. It has to be done for the hard bodies. With the Kingpins though, because that spacer comes off the base of the spindle, and on the 620 it's just not there, so the spindle's actually a little bit longer, like I've mentioned in the previous part of the video. That would save having to machine the hubs. That would work pretty nice. I really don't have to take much more off of here. Another 20 thou. I gotta check that other wheel seal. Part of the reason why I have to check it is the distance the seal will go in here is 375, 3/8 of an inch. This seal is too big. It would be sticking out the back there. And this seal doesn't have the right diameter anyway. Okay, so what I'm hoping is to get a seal more like this, because then what that does is then when it's pushed all the way in to the lip there, the ridge, lip, other diameter there, whatever, when it's pushed all the way into there, oh, it's a good 70 thousandths smaller. That means that I should be able to I could easily take it in 20 or 30 thousandths, because right now it is flush. The back of the hub is flush right with the end of the bearing adapter, or where it pushes up against the boss on the spindle. If the seal sits in another 70 thousandths, I could easily shorten that up another 30 thousandths and let it push in there, and then that would get me my distance I need here without having to modify the or machine the hubs. So it might have to be a sacrifice here. I'm looking at where it's sitting there, and if the seal comes in a little bit, I wouldn't want to really bring it in the whole 70 thousandths, because then this inner lip quits riding on the seal there and starts just hanging over the edge, which just cuts down some of its effectiveness as a seal. And I don't really want it rubbing on. I don't want it rubbing on any of the moving parts of the bearing there. But it looks like I do have a little bit of wiggle room there. You know, 30 thou maybe. Ooh, it's a lot more than that. So I think I can make that work. Like I said, I have to check the other seal. So 50, 68, 8 as opposed to 54, 65, 13. So this one's 4 millimeter bigger ID, 3 millimeter smaller OD. So I need one that is a 54 ID with a 68 OD. I'll see what I can find on that.